This episode is about the results of constantly trying to live my potential. It is part 1 of 2. Why do I tell my story? I believe any life can and should be spoken about, examined. Each is a story every bit as intriguing as the masterpieces of literature or an award-winning film. Every bit as telling on how to be, how to think, or how not to. Of course, the storyteller must present the story with all the insight and intrigue that it is. It is for the storyteller to present a life as interesting. That then is my challenge in telling anyone's, or even my own, story. Why do we not value and become familiar with other stories? Each life is representative of how we have constructed society. If we learned how to understand, to value each of our stories, the world would be incomprehensibly better. There would be far more compassion and less hatred. But we choose not to do this. We instead most often choose ambivalence, or worse, hatred. I too am guilty of ambivalence and need to learn how to passionately better understand someone's story or to tell it. We may know a little about someone's story, but mostly miss the details of how and why. Now I begin with my story. My passion in life is to see, to understand, and to do so at all cost. In this pursuit, I've also seen massacres, had my life threatened a number of times. I've been shot at, luckily only once, had knives pulled on me, had a group of men armed with swords waiting to take my life, been held hostage with an AK-47 pressed against my temple by revolutionaries who were waiting for the command to kill me, and traveled to over 70 countries. Most I saw thoroughly. I've traveled to a couple of places no other person has traveled, and other places where the local people were awed by me, as they had never seen a Westerner or anyone outside their culture. I've studied over 20 languages, been in the middle of a coup d'etat, traveled through a number of war zones, seen evidence of genocide several times, seen the aftermath of chemical warfare, been robbed by police at gunpoint, and spent time with numerous nomadic tribes. My career has been entrepreneurial for about 15 years, including owning one business for nearly 10 years. This was mainly in tech, but I worked with or consulted 2 films, a Sony Arista R&B singer, a think tank, a UN-affiliated group to eliminate extreme poverty in Africa, nonprofits, and a number of other businesses. Early in my career, I often worked 100 hours a week or more. I have always had a great appreciation for filmmakers and the whole creative process of film. Over several years, I often hung out in Hollywood. During the day, I would hang out with producers, directors, and screenwriters. They would tell me about their craft. At night, I hung out with actors and comedians. I came very close to making film my career. I was part of a group of producers organized to make multiple films, but that fell apart during the financial crash. Another time, I was offered a role on a TV series, but accepting it would force me to give up my business. And acting wasn't a passion of mine, nor was it a talent, but the offer was still intriguing. A third time, I was asked to manage a group of well-known producers. I was confused by this because I didn't see what I brought to the table. A couple of them were quite famous. I think they thought I had abilities that I didn't have. I've been an athlete throughout my life. Baseball was more the sport that I stood out. There was talk before 2 significant injuries that I would be a first-round draft pick for Major League Baseball. Surgery from the injuries was unsuccessful. Even after the injuries, I participated in the U.S. Olympic trials and played with a college scholarship paying all my expenses. Professional baseball scouts assured me I could, despite my injuries, still play professionally. But there was constant pain. My orthopedist told me another surgery may allow me to play professional baseball, but would likely result in losing my ability to walk in another 10 years. He suggested an alternative path that would take a few years to recover, and I might be able to live an active life. I played semi-pro baseball for a short time while considering what to do, or maybe just to take the field for the last few times and let go of my childhood dream. I took the orthopedist's recommendation, though it really wasn't a choice. I've been able to continue an active life, being involved in a number of extreme sports, just not professional baseball. Growing up, football, basketball, and track were among other sports I enjoyed. I played 7 years of football, including a starting position in high school. A broken hand from baseball kept me from all league honors in football, and I feel there would have been college scholarship offers as well. I played 8 years of basketball with 5 on school teams before the end of high school, then played in leagues into my 20s and 30s. In my late 30s, I won a three-point shooting competition as the only non-college player in the competition. I made 65% of my three-pointers, or 13 of 20 shots. In track, I was a sprinter, long jumper, and was co-captain of the school team. Had I focused on long jumping, I'm sure I could have participated at a major college. My travels have also taken me to the high waters of the Amazon, deep into the Sahara, across the barren landscapes of Mongolia, to the point where the Americas end in the south, and to the top of Mount Pacaya in Guatemala, while it was every few seconds throwing lava hundreds of feet in the air. I have crossed the desolate Altiplano Plateau in Bolivia and on through to the Atacama Desert in Chile, the place which receives the least amount of precipitation on Earth. I've taken a train across Siberia, stopping in places no tourists were found, hiked into jungles of 3 continents, climbed to about 20,000 feet, 6,000 meters, in the mountains of northern Peru, visited cities in the Middle East without running water or electricity. I've been to places in which, if it were known I was American, my life would have been in great danger. Those places I went into disguise and spoke a very broken English, in which no one believed it was my first language. I will continue with my story in the next episode, with part 2. Please support the channel by subscribing and liking. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next episode.